How to make the perfect steak dinner every time. I like to use fingerling potatoes. Sometimes I get organic. Make sure I give them a good douse of olive oil, just to make sure that I cover all the potatoes, and then put a little bit of salt and pepper. So I like to use sea salt. I think it tends to taste better than some of the lightly grained salts. Just a nice good sea salt, and then a nice black pepper. So a little bit of black pepper, and then set it to 400 degrees and stick them in the oven. And while those are in the oven, I'm going to grab a few rashers of bacon. I'm going to chop these up into little cubes so I can flash fry these, and just put them in a little bit of olive oil. Just maybe a minute or so, just to flash fry, just to get them cooking. And I'm going to try and utilize that oil in the pan as well for my Brussels sprouts. I'm going to give these a little bit of a rinse, just to get them nice and clean. And then I'm going to put the bacon in with the Brussels sprouts. Specifically, I'm going to use the oil in there as well, so I want to make sure the oil gets nicely covered all over those Brussels sprouts, and give them a stir. And the last few stirs of the bacon and the Brussels sprouts, I'm going to utilize the oil still in the pan from the bacon, so I'm going to use that for the steak. So I'm going to put the Brussels sprouts in the oven. That's pretty much at 400 degrees now, so the potatoes are nicely going, Brussels sprouts and bacon, and now I'm going to prep the steaks. The pan's nice and hot, a little bit more sea salt. I'm utilizing the oil with the bacon again. I like to get a good steak. I get these from Whole Foods, so I like to spend a little bit more on the steak. They're like $30 for a pound. So I get two good 8-ounce chunks. I like to try and get them 2 medallion sizes, so it's easier. Again, a little bit of salt and pepper. So not too much, but you don't want to have too little on there either. So a good little bit of salt and pepper on both sides. Give them a little bit of a pounding. So I want to make sure that they get nicely seasoned, and then they're going to be ready for the pan. I like to leave my steaks maybe 15-20 minutes, just to get a little bit more room temperature. Just a final basting of salt and pepper on the sides, and we're ready to go. Just a quick check on the Brussels sprouts and the potatoes. Always like giving them a little bit of a stir, but they are coming on nicely. What do you want, some steak? What are you doing? The steaks have been nicely chilling here in room temperature for like 15-20 minutes. Give them a little pad down just to get some excess moisture off, and they're ready for the grill. The oil and the bacon juice nice and hot, ready for the steaks. I like to just give these steaks just a little bit of stir in the oil, and then make sure just to leave them alone. Hey Google, set timer for 2 minutes.
2 minutes, starting now.
Still got about a minute to go on the one side, and these are just cooking perfectly. Stop timer. Hey Google, set timer for 2 minutes.
2 minutes, and we're starting now.
Stop timer. What that's 2 minutes on both sides, and now I'm just going to try and sear the edges just to sear all the flavor in and get them ready for the oven. And I think a little tip, it's always good to get medallions, so like 7, 8, 9 ounce medallions, and make sure that they're at least a good size so you can actually maneuver them in the pan to make sure they can get the sides cooked nice and clean too. I use a simple baking tray. I put it in the oven at 400 degrees, so just get it nice and not super hot, but hot enough. So I'm just going to put the 2 steaks on the nice hot baking tray. Now the steaks are ready for the oven. They're on the baking tray, and I'm going to put them in the oven at 400 degrees for around 10 minutes, which will give me about medium rare. Hey Google, set timer for 10 minutes.
10 minutes. Starting now.
While the oven's open, another quick stir of the vegetables. The Brussels are looking great. The potatoes are looking perfect. Always like putting my plates in the microwave for a couple of minutes just to get them nice and hot. There's no point having cold plates while you're having a nice hot dinner. One last check to see if the potatoes and the vegetables are looking good, which they are. Steaks look like they're sizzling away nicely, perfect. Just a few more minutes. And now the vegetables are all ready. They've been in there like 20 minutes or so, 25 minutes for the potatoes, maybe 20 minutes for the Brussels sprouts, and they're ready to go. So the steaks are just looking great. I got the vegetables all ready. They're sitting there nice and hot in the Pyrex dishes, so they're staying nice and warm. And let's plate up. Just a simple dinner. The potatoes weren't expensive. The Brussels aren't too expensive. The steak is the only expensive piece, but just perfectly cooked. These are probably more medium to medium rare, which are just perfect. I don't like blood everywhere, and it's just the most perfect dinner.